Marvel Studios' Blade movie is turning out to be the MCU's biggest gaffe yet, and it hasn't even released. Announced all the way back in 2019, the reboot of the series Wesley Snipes made iconic in 1998 should have been a home run for Marvel, with Mahershala Ali attached to star as a Daywalker and a simple action-heavy premise precluding elaborate cosmic or interdimensional shenanigans. And yet, somehow, against the odds, Marvel have been ice skating uphill this whole time, with numerous writers and directors leaving the project, and Ali himself reportedly growing increasingly frustrated with the current situation. So, what the hell is even going on, and how have we got here? I'm Ewan, you're watching What Culture, and today I'm joined by Gareth Morgan to discuss why Marvel's Blade just isn't coming together. How are you doing, Gareth, and where are you with all the Blade shenanigans going on right now?
I've gone through the full gamut of human emotions, really, because I've had the pain, I've had the excitement, obviously, very early on. We were like, oh my god, this is happening. Like, we've got this incredible Oscar-winning, like Oscar-caliber actor in the leading role. He looked perfect as Blade. You were like, yes, I can see how this is going to fold in. We were coming off Endgame as well. We had all that MCU hype at its absolute highest, and then the years started to roll by. And
it was 2019, and then it was the dark times, and now we've come out the other end of that, and there's still no Blade.
No.
There's still no Blade. So
we're bladeless.
We're completely bladeless. There's not even a dull Blade. It's just not even there in the first place. We're going to get chewed up by these vampires. So yeah, we've known for a while that Blade hasn't been doing well. Directors and writers have been coming and going since the project was announced in 2019, and Mahershala Ali walked out with the Blade hat on. And he had that weird cameo in The Eternals where he was kind of off screen. What was Blade doing in The Eternals? I have no clue, but it kind of set the tone for how discordant this production has turned out to be, because what really should be a simple premise, which we saw in 1998's movie directed by Stephen Norrington, which was then improved upon, I would say, with Guillermo del Toro's sequel in the early 2000s, is that Blade is just a cool guy slaying vampires with cool aesthetics, cool action. It kind of speaks for itself. So the fact that this hasn't happened kind of led to, alarm bells being set off that Marvel have been overthinking this. They're going to try and weave Blade into the wider tapestry that's been going on since Endgame that no one really knows is where that's going, post Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania and the Kang stuff, and then we've got Avengers Secret Wars coming out as well. So it's all kind of just higgledy-piggledy. And a new report from The Hollywood Reporter's Boris Kitt and Aaron Couch really lays bare how big a vampire nightclub bloodbath this thing has been turning out to be. The most recent casualty of its production was director Yann Demange, who was exited from the project only recently and was actually selected by Mahershala Ali himself to direct. This comes after the exit of Bassam Tariq, who left as a director in September 2022, after Marvel reportedly, according to this article, considered him not right for the project. Now, Gareth, I don't know about you, but this sets off more alarm bells to me, because this reminds me of the Marvel that we had in the early stages. Makes you think back to Thor: The Dark World, when Patty Jenkins was, signed on to direct that film, and ended up parting ways with Marvel over creative differences. Also, the other big example being Edgar Wright and Ant-Man. There has been a long and storied history of Marvel really exercising a fierce and tight control over the aesthetics and overall direction of these films. And for me, this is purely speculative, but if the reason why Tariq and Demange are kind of all these other creative figures are leaving the project, that to me maybe implies that Marvel aren't willing for Blade to be the unique genre presence it is in the mythos. They're not really willing it to be just a straight cool action horror movie like the old stuff, and maybe they're looking to build it more into just that kind of mainstream image that we've had from Marvel since, Iron Man came out. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, it does feel like they're trying to just fold it into, you don't want to say like the whole sameness of the MCU, but they are trying to fit this quite distinct character that has, in terms of like the visuals, the tone of it, all the rest of it, it could be quite a gritty, violent, really excessively violent, probably like closer into your Deadpool kind of world in terms of like just the sheer brutality of some of the visuals that you could throw out there. It is more in that world, and that isn't necessarily what we've had before in the MCU. It doesn't seem like they had that overall vision for this project. So maybe the people that have come in have got like clearly a passion for Blade and like had their own way of doing things, but it just seems like it hasn't really adhered to what Kevin Feige had in mind for it. But it just begs the question, it's like, why are you bringing these people in the first place? Because I'm sure, like, again, I'm not a director, like I've not got like a ton of experience going into studios and pitching ideas, but you'd like to think they probably came in with those ideas before they were agreed upon as director and went, yeah, this is where I want to take things. And then how far down the process do you suddenly sit there and go, nah, actually, mate, it's not going to work? It's like, what a waste. What a waste of time and talent.
The really interesting thing with all of this is that from this report, we know that there have been some wildly different premises and treatments written for the Blade movie, going from stuff that has been set in the 1920s, that would have involved Mia Goth as a vampire warrior, and Blade protecting a young child, to what I imagine to be more traditional Blade concepts of maybe like a modern set Blade film. Although I do think one set in the 70s that maybe leaned into blaxploitation vibes would be really cool, especially given the character made his debut in that decade. But one thing I want to mention here as well, and this is from the article, Mahershala Ali has, this is a quote, has at times exercised an inordinate amount of influence over the project in a way few other actors have on Marvel movies. Part of it stems from Blade's inception, which began when Ali called the studio after winning the Oscar for his work on Green Book and said he wanted to do Blade. Ali has envisioned Blade as his Black Panther, according to sources. Now, this is interesting as well, because I think there is a scale to Black Panther in terms of the kind of the mythical connotations on that character that isn't necessarily there with Blade. Blade is absolutely an icon, but maybe there is a level here of there's a conflicting sense of grandiosity. The other interesting thing in regards to this is that Demange's Blade, this is another quote, was batting its wings towards a shoot starting in May 2023 and hired yet another writer, True Detective creator Nick Pizzolatto, also who having worked with Mahershala Ali on True Detective, to bring the script over the finish line, but it was all for naught as the writers' strike, then the actors' strike shut the movie down. One agent who spoke to the Hollywood Reporter said that, quote, people have missed about 3 windows to shoot other movies or shows. But unlike several other Marvel projects that were shut down and then restarted, including Deadpool and Wolverine and Thunderbolts, Blade instead let most of its actors go, including Delroy Lindo. And I'm so upset about this because Delroy Lindo is absolutely amazing. I don't know if anyone saw The Five.
Yes!
A lot of people saw The Five Bloods. He was incredible in that
Oh,
movie.
he was awesome. That is a pandemic movie. That is a pandemic movie that just, it's one of the rare ones that doesn't just hit you with this pang of, oh, the dark times. It was a true highlight in that era. That movie
Beautiful
is just,
movie.
Oh, go watch it.
Absolutely beautiful. But yeah, so we kind of had a carousel of writers in amongst this. The likes of Michael Green ended up joining the project in November. And then Eric Pearson, who is now currently involved in the most recent form of the script and who also contributed to Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four. Now, there's other stuff going on here. You know, Mahershala Ali's attorney, Shelby Visor, told The Hollywood Reporter as well, quote, the deal for this movie was in 2019 and they still haven't shot it, which is pretty much the craziest thing in my professional experience. And just after that, I'm going to go into the list of every single creative that has been involved in Blade. This is again from the article. They've got a really good timeline breakdown here. So, starting in February 2021, Marvel hires Watchmen writer Stacey Osai Kafur to pen the script for a project that has Oscar winner Mahershala Ali attached to star as the horror hero. Fall 2022, Bo DeMaio, who created X-Men 97, which is amazing and everyone also needs to go watch, takes his own stab at the project, described as a period piece. That is the one set in the 1920s, which that doesn't really make sense to me as a Blade movie, but I digress. April 2023 comes around, that's when Nick Pizzolatto comes on board. Fall 2023, that's when Bassam Tariq leaves the project, and then Michael Starbury writes a new script for Yann Demange. Then in 2023, Michael Green comes on board, who's worked on Logan and Blade Runner 2049, and then now we have Eric Pearson. It's a lot here, Gareth.
Yeah.
Do you think, in between the stuff involving maybe tonal conflicts, Ali's kind of, approach to the character of Blade, is it just a case of we got too many cooks in the kitchen here and people don't really understand what is going on with this character?
Yeah, took the words right out of my mouth there, man. It just seems like we need one clear vision here, one just commander-in-chief going, right, this is the Blade we're going to make, and if you're not on board with it, right, it is what it is. But like you said, it is quite complicated in a sense that Mahershala Ali's been the person who seems to have provoked this project, which if it's a passion thing of his, and he's going, you know what, yeah, I like this, like the idea of doing this character, that I could do it justice, I've got an idea of what we could do for it, and it's something he is really a big driving force for. It is quite hard there, because whatever director's going to come in also is going to have a hell of a vision, you'd like to think. They're like over this entire thing, and then Marvel themselves are probably now going to look at Blade, and when you don't know what that first pitch really, apart from like the fact that he said that he did want it to be his kind of Black Panther project, everything like that kind of stuff, you don't really know what that initial pitch from Ali was to Marvel. So whatever he might have said to them initially, Marvel might have gone, yeah, you know what, that'll fit right into our universe. And then as you're bringing in these different creatives, suddenly it starts shifting towards maybe what we know as Blade and what we want as Blade, and that isn't necessarily what Marvel. It does just scream so many different things bouncing off in different directions, and it does make you worry a little bit, because yeah, it seems like this movie is eventually gonna like hatch its way out into the world, because it's just, there's been that much investment now, there's been that much money, that much time. It's got to happen at this rate, but.
Yeah, and the thing they mention as well is that Kevin Feige has a personal attachment to this, because Blade was one of the films that got his start in terms of producing. He was involved in that movie's production also with, the original X-Men film. So he's got a lot of personal stakes in this project too. I think it's kind of an indictment of Marvel Studios if they're not able to get this to work. It's already been several years of stop-start that makes you think, well, this is absolutely thoroughly bizarre. And in their defense, one of the reasons that THR posits for potentially, the Blade not actually moving along as quickly as we thought it would, there was a source there that mentions that it was a victim of or a casualty rather of the too much era, referring to Marvel's, pivot to streaming during the pandemic, which led to, WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and the glut of quote unquote content that has kind of really taken the franchise off the rails, which again is wild to me that Blade would be on their books as a potential project or an already confirmed project, and instead of doing that, they pivoted their focus to the streaming shows. But Gareth, I want to know,
why is that, very quickly, why is that not the priority in terms of IP? It's such a tried and tested thing that people adore already. Why are you not, I don't know, like pushing it as a movie, or maybe if you are like absolutely obsessed with getting everything onto streaming as a TV show, turn it into a TV show. I'd watch a Blade TV show. Like, just it should have been a priority. If I had hair, I would have ripped it out by now. This is insanity.
I think the thing for me is that the big it comes down to that initial speculation we had there of genre, and the overall most of the recent Marvel movies all being in service of the next big thing. Obviously, the MCU spiraled out of the fact that every movie would tease an upcoming project, but I really think what's really done Marvel dirty over the last few years is that everything seems to be building towards a really vague and nebulous crossover event. And for me, even though I didn't really like the film because it wasn't Sam Raimi enough for me, I wanted to see more Sam Raimi in it, Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness had a good blueprint there in terms of aesthetics and style. I think what Marvel need to do to make sure that this upcoming era is going to take them back to how things were, is to focus on genre, is to do what DC might be doing at the minute, with the likes of Matt Reeves as the Batman, with the way that James Gunn is approaching the DCU. Obviously, the proof is in the pudding for those. We don't know what those movies are going to turn out to be, but I think there is a certain level here where Marvel has forgotten that each of its characters, these different properties, there's not a one-size-fits-all thing. They all have their own different niches that they occupy. And to the people that have been involved in Blade's credit, each of these premises, the 1920s one doesn't really gel for me, but at least it shows there is an idea of like, we're going to try and do something out there and unique with the character. I think what happens now is, obviously it's going to get made. There is too much money, too much time, too much resources. If it doesn't get made, it becomes just a complete joke. But I do hope that there is a willingness from Marvel to, we can make this a cool little genre movie. It doesn't have to be in service of Avengers Secret Wars, even though I have no doubt in my mind that Blade will eventually join the Avengers and be in a big team-up movie like that. they need to be happy with going small again before going big instantly.
Yeah, that's it. And I think they've hinted, haven't they, going down this spotlight showcase. I can't remember exactly how they word it, but I think like your likes of Echo. I think it was Werewolf by Night as well.
Night, yeah.
So I think they've already had a little go, and to be honest, I quite enjoy Werewolf by Night. I feel like, okay, it's something just very different to what we've had before, and it feels like it's operating in its own, not own universe, but own bubble, own corner of this universe, where it's not directly influenced or, like you're saying, in service of this wide, absolute vision that everything just, is dictated by, really. And I like that. I thought it excelled because of that. You could do that with Blade quite easily. And I think, if anything, there's all this talk of fatigue, superhero fatigue, all the rest of it. I don't necessarily agree with a sense of all superhero movies are causing fatigue. I think it's a particular style of superhero movie is leading to fatigue, and it is that in-house MCU style. And I think they'd be wise, and maybe we see this with Wolverine and Deadpool, like Deadpool Wolverine, whatever it is. Maybe they just try and do something a little bit different. I know that in itself is obviously linking into the wider MCU with the like, I don't know, where there's going to be multiverse stuff and all the rest of it. I know that's there, but the actual style of the movie, I'll be so intrigued to see if they just let that be a Deadpool movie, like what we'd seen before, but it's just operating in the MCU. If that happens, I'll have a lot more enthusiasm, and I'll have hope for this Blade project. But if that does become just another paint by numbers MCU thing again, it's like my poor baby, my poor vampire, he's having the life sucked out of him.
Yeah, exactly. And already at this point, it's kind of like this movie is still probably going to get made, like we said before. There's been too much time, too much money sunk into it for it not to be made. But even in that eventuality, the fact that it's taken so long is kind of ridiculous.
It could be a good thing, though, because in a weird way, the hype is real now. Like, the anticipation for this film, we have been waiting so long, it's almost become a meme in itself that people just want to go to be like, we made it. We're actually here in the theater watching it. Like,
I have a morbid curiosity now. I'm like, wonder if they salvage something from this. I mean, I really hope so. It's interesting that with Eric Pearson being involved, I think Fantastic Four and Thunderbolts are both going to come out before this one. So depending on how those movies are, it's interesting that Marvel are going all in again on those returning creative presences, and there's less willingness to maybe expand beyond that stable. But yeah, I want to know what everyone in the comments thinks. Like, do you think Blade will see the light of day as a daywalker, or is this one just going to go to the same watery coffin that Ben Affleck's Daredevil liked to chill in that movie? That's your fault, Gareth. You talked about Daredevil.
Sorry, yeah, that's some inside baseball right there. Sorry, I did that. I did this to him.
But yeah, let us know in the comments below what you think of the current ongoing situation with Blade. Also, be sure to drop a video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to What Culture for more newsy things like this coming straight to your inbox every week. Otherwise, I have been Ewan, this has been Gareth, and we will go ice skate uphill another time.
Lovely. Have a good day, wherever you are. You'll need it.
Bye.